People used to think that the worst thing that could happen to them was divorce. But with divorce at an all-time high here in the US, there's something else taking over the lives of millions of Americans. And divorce is just the beginning. The ride after that can be long and winded. So let me tell you all about it and help you avoid some mistakes. By the time this video is over, you're going to be taking some valuable information with you to help you navigate life after divorce. But before we get into what's taking over the life of millions of Americans, let's start from the beginning. Absolutely no one goes into marriage thinking that their happy ending is ever going to end. But for some of us, our older generations failed to give us some really important advice on how to navigate marriage. They forgot to tell us that marriage is a happy ending to a successful courtship, but it's also the beginning of a new relationship, one in which you consistently and intentionally have to choose to grow together, or you unwillingly grow apart. What happens with that, sadly, is that you don't realize that you're growing apart until many years have passed. And the gap between you is so big that you simply cannot bridge it. And the only way forward is divorce. And I don't mean to say that divorce is the only way forward. Clearly, it is for the majority of people, which is why divorce rate is so high in the US. Very few people are able to successfully bridge that gap and move forward together. During those years of marriage, a lot of life happens, and part of that is having kids. Children that now need to be split between two worlds. Enter mom versus dad. What's taken over the lives of millions of Americans is co-parenting. And for some, it's co-parenting wars that last years, decades even. It's crazy. Divorce is not the worst thing that can happen to you. Co-parenting is the worst thing that can happen to you. So if you want to survive that, watch this video till the end. If you have children with your ex-partner, the truth is that you are yoked, shackled at the ankles, and there's no way to get out of that. So the one thing that you can do is ensure that the next few years go as smooth as possible. It's going to require a lot of emotional intelligence on your part, but I promise you that it's completely worth it. The alternative to that is just horrible. When I was doing my research for this video, I came across a lot of information, some of which was that there are three main co-parenting types. So I'm going to go through all of them, and then I will let you know which one I implemented the majority of time in my life. The first type of co-parenting is the cooperative parent. That is as plain as day. Cooperative simply just means that the both of you work together, okay, in the best interest of the children, despite you being divorced and probably not even liking each other's guts, but you stick around and you do the best that you can for your kids. The second one is parallel parenting. And basically, this means that in order for you to avoid conflict, you don't even talk to each other. So when the kids are with mom, they do one thing, and when the kids are with dad, they do whatever the dad wants. The third one is conflicted parenting, and this is just the one where the parents can't have a conversation, are constantly at each other's necks. They keep the kids away from, the other parent, and so forth and so on. And this is where I get into, I say this all the time, divorce is extremely difficult. Managing a home on your own is extremely difficult. But if you manage your home like a business, you will avoid so many pitfalls. Through this business lens, we're going to quickly examine these three different co-parenting types, right? The first one we're going to look at is the parallel co-parenting. So let's just say you're working in an office, you have two bosses, they don't like each other, and they don't work together. When one boss tells his team, this is what you're doing, the other boss tells his team or her team, this is what we're doing. They don't talk, they don't chat. How well do you think this company is going to perform, right? If they can't move together to achieve a common goal, right? How well do you think that this company is going to perform? Or in this case, if mom and dad cannot work well together, right? How do you think the children are going to perform? Not very well, right? The second one that we can look at through the same lens is conflictive parenting. If you have two bosses that are constantly fighting, what do you think the morale is in that workplace? What do you think that work environment looks like? You'd probably be looking for another job. You probably would hate going to work. So as you examine these co-parenting types through the business lens, it's easy to see that the most efficient, the most promising type is the cooperative co-parenting type. It's the one that I implemented the most after my divorce, and I mean, it just yields the most benefits. It's going to require extraordinary strength sometimes not to want to just, like just dealing with your ex. I mean, just think about it. You got a divorce because you didn't want to see this person anymore, didn't want to be with this person anymore, but the last thing that you can do is remove this person completely from your life. It's not possible. And on top of that, you have to be cordial and cooperative and, responsive. And, you have to continue to be a great team player, an exceptional team player, right? Because if you're not, your kids are going to suffer, right? So like a boss, right? Because we're examining this through a business lens, the best leaders, they put their employees first, company and employees first. So if you're a single mom and you're, having issues with co-parenting, think of it that way. Easier said than done, right? Remove as much of the emotional aspect as you can and just look at it objectively. I mean, because if you give in to the screaming and the shouting, of course it's going to feel good for 2.5 seconds. But what you're going to get out of that is more misery, more tension, more anxiety, more pain, more heartache. Just your life is going to be ugly. And in turn, your kids are also going to have an ugly life. So if you can help it, highly recommend that you give cooperative co-parenting a try, because co-parenting doesn't have to be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. Just like divorce doesn't have to be the worst thing that's ever happened to you. I think both things, examined under the right light and approached in the right manner, can make you stronger, right? Make your kids stronger and move forward. Here are some simple things that I did that helped me move into cooperative co-parenting and keep me there. Number one, I would never take phone calls during the day. So if I was in the office, decline. I will call you later when I get home. I will call you at 6:30. If I was upset or tired, I just wouldn't take the phone call. I mean, there was a time where the sound of his breathing would irritate me. The sound of his voice would irritate me, right? And so why would I take that phone call if I'm having a terrible day at work? It's just not productive. It's just not smart, you know? Or I would say, I'll call you in 30 minutes, and I would take those 30 minutes to, you know, calm myself so I could have a conversation and not blow my lid. You know what I mean? And that to me was like the majority of getting me into cooperative co-parenting. The other percentage of that is really doing some emotional healing. You have got to spend time with yourself. You have got to process your emotions. You know what I mean? Because the anger and the screaming and the yelling and being confrontational and, you know, making things difficult for someone, they might feel good in the beginning. I mean, who doesn't like to be an asshole every now and then? I'm certainly guilty of it. I'm sure that you are too, right? Especially if the other person is the one that set it off. Because if there's one thing I can say about myself, I'm not generally the one that starts anything, but I will finish it. And I forgot what I was going to say. Oh my God, yes, I remember what I wanted to say. And it's this: the years go by quickly. So the silver lining is that as your kids get older, you're going to spend a lot less time co-parenting. You won't always feel like you're waist deep in something that is just, quite frankly, sometimes a little bit annoying. So put your best foot forward and don't let anyone change the way that you show up for yourself, for your life, and for your kids. That's what I want to say. So take care, stick around, and I hope I see you in the next video, which is linked here somewhere.